I'm Rania.
I'm Duran.
And man, you know, don't you hate when people like make unprofessional titles or make themselves or make clients feel like they're shit? Now,
Yes.
a lot of the times you see people a lot of times you see people that maybe don't think of it in that fortitude or maybe they don't think of it that way, but I think it's not professional to down the client or make the client feel like shit, or even if the client is not there, the way you handle things should be professionally handled, like even in your titles or when you're writing things, because you don't know who's seeing this shit. And even for people to be at a high level to do that, you would think that you would only see that when it comes to people who are associate levels or like juniors. But what is your thought on stuff like that when you see things like that?
Yeah, that's unfortunately more common in our industry than it should be. You'll have a lot of people who will openly, in writing, disparage the client, customer, internal team with whom they're working, whoever it is you want to talk about, the partner basically, or whomsoever that they are servicing. And the sad part is either when it accidentally gets out, someone accidentally forwards an email or something of that nature, it turns out that there was a fly on the wall, and that fly on the wall just happened to be a member of that team, whatever it happens to be, right? When when that happens, or the alternative, when they get compromised and emails go out. So you remember one of the big things that, and I don't like him, but that Snowden did was he released a lot of internal emails from the US State Department. And part of the reason why that was a problem is because some of those emails included people bad-mouthing ambassadors and other very
Oh,
important people. Right. Right. Now, that looks bad on us as a country when that happens, but you see the same thing happen in the corporate world where someone goes through and they compromise a company, and then the internal emails get published, and that includes damaging comments about other coworkers, damaging comments about customers, clients, things of that nature. So at least what I have generally always practiced, or at least tried to practice, is never say anything disparaging in writing, and try to avoid disparaging remarks that are made verbally as well, because you don't know who's listening. It's not professional anyway to mock. The developers are trying their best, although, sometimes that's not where you want it to be, but they're trying their best.
it's never a good idea to do shit like that. Our job, penetration testers, consultants, whatever advisors or whoever you want to consider yourself as, it's to help the client, and it's not to badmouth the client because you've done something so phenomenal that you think it's phenomenal.
Right.
It that doesn't matter. And a lot of the times, the things that people are finding are actually or presenting or saying like things that B-side and shit like that. It's not great.
Right.
It's not good stuff. Like when I hear people say, "Hey, you will never find this anywhere." Will you never find that anywhere? How did you
Right.
find it? And I'm not saying that there's some things you won't find, like, oh, for instance, or some things that you will find. I will say, like, with the stuff that you're seeing, if you guys go to our GitHub and look at some of the good stuff that Duran or myself have written, you will find interesting things that you probably won't find out there online. There's a lot of stuff there, so go download the Super Vulnerable Job application, test it out, do things with it. But you won't find this shit online, and that's dead ass seriously. Like you're not gonna find this. So, but there are a lot of things that people say, "Oh, you won't find this nowhere." But then you actually take a look at it and you see how common it truly is.
Right.
that is out there, and they'll take that, put that together, do something with it, say they did something great by just tweaking shit, and then all of a sudden they'll go and uh, badmouth the client because they're like, "Oh, I totally rocked and destroy your system or application." But was that the goal in the first place?
Right. Yes. I'm glad that you went there. All right. So, I don't know about you, but I have written 2 reports in my entire career that have caused people to literally quit the industry. I'm not saying made them quit their job. I mean they left IT altogether. And in both cases they were developers, and in both cases they were senior level developers with 20 to 30 years of experience. They had bachelor's and master's in computer science, and they had been doing it for a very long time. And in both cases, I was not happy. I was not proud. And actually, it makes me really, really, really sad when I think about it, because my goal is never to make anyone quit. And both actually arose from forensics activity that I did, although it was a mixture of forensics and penetration testing. I'll give you one scenario because they were almost mirror images of each other. So we had this government system. It got compromised by another nation state. I got called in by Washington, D.C., so by headquarters. And I went through, I did my forensics analysis. I detailed out how they got compromised. It was custom software, all that other stuff, right? I detailed how they got compromised and then what they needed to do to fix the issue. So they went through, they organized this mass effort to fix the problems, and they allegedly fixed the issues. They send it back to me for retest, and I do I do my testing and said, "No, you didn't fix it. Not only did you not fix it, but this thing is much worse than what the nation state uh, understood it to be, and they could have done so much more than what they did." So I again explained how they needed to correct this, and I gave them both a mixture of actual code and pseudocode, etc., etc. They allegedly fixed it, came back, and it was still not fixed. It was still just as vulnerable as before because the the lead developer wasn't really grasping the issue and was trying to just cover it up. And you know how that works, right? You get these clients, you
Hmm.
give them, "Hey, here's some sample payloads, here's what I did," and they focus on that instead of focusing on what you're telling them they need to do to fix it. Instead, they're focused on what you did to cause the issue. After a few rounds of this, his management pressured him, basically saying the system needs to go back online. It was a mission critical system. It had to be online. Big national security thing. It just had to be online. And he had pressure to get it fixed and get it fixed right. It wasn't working. And he just came to the conclusion that clearly IT isn't right for him. That I don't know, that he's missed the boat basically. Or I guess that at some point, what IT was and what it took to write secure code had gone so far past him, had passed completely by him to the point where he no longer understood what it meant, and he quit. He literally resigned, and I saw him a few years. I didn't even know he quit at the time. It took a little while before I found out because they were still working on fixing it. And a few years later, I saw him at a career convention kind of deal. I was there for my company, and I was sad to see him. He was really happy to see me, but I was really sad to see him there because it had been years and this man still hadn't found a job and he still hadn't found where he wanted to be. He was about retirement age, but he didn't want to retire. And, you know, all the power to him for wanting to be productive and all this other stuff. But it actually still makes me really sad to think about the whole thing because my goal has never been to trash someone's career and make them leave. My goal has never been to make anyone lose their livelihood. They don't put themselves in the shoes of the other person when they come up with titles like, you know, how I made my client's day terrible. And but they say it like they're bragging, like it's a good thing, or how I ruined my client's day, how I gave them a headache, you know, how I trashed their system, that kind of thing. That's very juvenile, but more importantly, that's not just feelings that are hurt. That can literally make someone leave.
Yeah, it definitely can. I mean, because everybody's very sensitive about their work and how what they do, and even with us, like you're very sensitive about what you present and do.
Right.
So people have to be mindful of people's feelings. People do have feelings, whether it's IT or not. I mean, we are people, and I don't think people kind of really understand that. And the goal is not to do that, but some people, they can't take the pressure. You know what I'm saying? In that situation, there's probably too much pressure on him to get the thing, everything back up and running, and he probably didn't understand how to do it.
Yeah.
And then some people, they pride get in the way where they just can't ask for help. You know, so it's not the goal to do that, but it's not all on you as well. It's like he had to be more, he couldn't handle the pressure. And a lot of the times when things happen, and you know, m- okay, for instance, if you're mentoring me and you're helping me get better, but I can't take criticism from you and the pressure of, oh, I want to make sure you look at me as me, like as a pupil. I'm doing
Right.
good, like I'm getting to a certain level, and that could be a lot of pressure. But sometimes you got to learn how to take the criticism and the pressure and use that to fuel you to get better. You know what I'm saying? You can't use that to bring you down, because that's not the objective. The objective wasn't to bring them down, it was to make them better. But a lot of times people don't know how to do that, and I'm not saying you per se, but I'm saying other people who are doing shit like you just said. That's not a good thing. If the client was actually viewing that or looking at that, do you think they would want to come back?
Right. Yes, you're making fun of them, you're mocking them, and I know I wouldn't be happy about that.
No, that shit's not good at all.
I think that you see this more often with people who are less experienced because number one, they get overly excited when they get what is a very simple exploit to work. And number two, and this maybe goes back to our fluffing things up, whether they mean to or not, because they're overly excited, they overstate the severity of the issue. And part of that is because they back the severity into what they feel it should be. And as a result, they're so busy pumping themselves up that they then make these unprofessional juvenile claims and statements, and I know some people would say, oh well, it's being said in jest, it's being said as a joke. And again, if you're saying it privately to someone you know and it's verbally, then fine, whatever. I mean, you can voice your opinions, your disappointment, or just your giddiness at having done a job well, but you definitely don't want to create a presentation or a report and you're sitting there. Actually, recently I wrote this report and I had a whole bunch of findings, right? And one of these findings was something that wound up giving me a shell on the system and all this other stuff. And the person reviewing my report made a comment, and they made a comment kind of mocking the code, mocking that this had happened in the first place. and this comment wasn't deleted when the report was handed over, and the report was PDF'd, and when it was PDF'd, they forgot to disable the comments, and they also didn't look at the PDF, and so they sent the client this PDF with them bad mouthing the the customer's product, and I'm the one who caught it. I was like, I happened to look at the PDF, and I'm sitting there going, "You realize the comments are in here, right?" And it wasn't my comment. It was quality assurance's comment, and it wasn't a comment. It wasn't the kind of thing I would make, and that just goes to the point. All it takes is an accident. Someone doesn't have to purposefully send your presentation, for example, to a customer, or send an email that you happen to sit there and make an offhand inappropriate remark in. It could be completely, utterly, totally accidental, and that's what happened here. And we overwrote the report, and thankfully it was in a system where we control it. So long as they didn't download the report before the file was overwritten, they never saw it. No one's ever commented on it. But
Yeah, yeah. No, that's bad. And
mm-hmm.
especially with whoever that person was, they had to be a high level person or some type of director on the or project coordinator or something. But either way, to do something like that, and if that would have got caught, that client would have left, and it would have been a big problem with the company. So
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
got to be careful about that. It doesn't make sense to badmouth clients. I mean, if you're gonna do that. I'm not telling people do it, don't do it. But if that's something you want to do that on a side channel or
Mm-hmm.
something. Talk about that somewhere else.
Right.
But in reports and stuff like that doesn't make sense.
Right.
In presentations doesn't make sense. Doesn't make you look good. It makes you look like a jerk, a noob. It does not make you look professional. And
Right.
when I see people do stuff like that, I look down on it
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, what makes you so great that you can go and oh, I toured and destroyed this client,
Yes.
makes you look very childish.
Could you have done it better than they? I mean, that's always the question that comes to my mind. And certainly there are people where that is 100% the case, but you weren't in their situation. You don't know what their timelines were. You don't know how much support they were getting. There's so much involved with all of this stuff. And it's just absolutely inane to do this kind of thing, and it's 100% completely unprofessional, especially to do it as a presentation, especially an official presentation or a report or anything of that nature. It does not look good. It doesn't look good.
It doesn't, and that's what we need to do better as an industry. Like again, this what we do is about helping people and not destroying them. It's about bringing
Right.
them up and not tearing them down.
Right.
That's
Right.
That's in everything we do, whether it's working with a client, whether it's working with people who are juniors, associates, whatever, that are not at a certain level. You're supposed to help bring them up and not tear them down. And I think people
Yes.
forget about that in our industry. You know what I'm saying? Especially
Yes.
when we're dealing with clients like that. They're the reason why we have our job.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
they pay the bills.
That's right. They do. And to that point, if you are ruining their day, then you're not doing your job. Your job isn't to ruin their day. Your job is actually to give them peace of mind and for them to look at it and say, "Oh my goodness, I'm glad we had you test it. I'm glad we had you look at it. I'm glad that you did the forensics on this or what have you." Because now they're going through and saying, "It's better you than the Russians. It's better you than the Chinese. It's better you than whomever it may be." That's how it's supposed to go. Like, if I'm doing work for the government or for the banking sector or whomever, I don't want them thinking, "Oh, this guy's going to air our dirty laundry." I want them thinking, "This guy's professional and he's keeping everyone else from hacking us. He's keeping everyone else from doing these things because he's helping us find our vulnerabilities." It's not a headache, it's supposed to be a partnership.
Yeah, but again, you know how people are. They don't get it. And it's like it's okay. You found something very cool You think it's awesome. But again, everybody else doesn't think it's awesome,
Right.
and the client may have thought oh, that was interesting, but how do we fix it?
Right.
And here you go. Maybe you help them fix it, even though you don't really go in and help them fix anything. You give them advice,
Right.
and then you go off and do your married thing. But here you go, and you're like, oh yeah, I went over and shit on this client. I tore everything apart. Forget them. Fuck them. They'll be okay. That's just literally what you're saying.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You're even if you want to display something you did awesome, that's not how you go about it.
Mhm.
You know, that's just not the right way. That's not a professional way to do it. And again, the people do that even when they're trying to mentor people. Like, not everybody can be good teachers,
Yeah.
and not everybody can, really do. I mean, not everybody can do good presentations either. So, I mean,
That's
I don't
true.
know, but our industry sucks. Just wanted to say that. Like, I hate to say it, but we suck with the way we do everything. And maybe the next time on another episode, we'll talk about people who believe they are expert at everything. And you're supposed to be experts at things, but you don't know everything.
Right.
So that's something else to say for later. But the takeaway from this is don't be a jerk. Don't be
Mhm.
an asshole. Be professional about everything you do because you make us look bad when you do that.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Again, we said this in multiple episodes. You guys can go look at them. We are here to help the client, not tear them down. We're here to bring them up, not tear them down. You just imagine if you were in their shoes.
Right.
As you said, would you have done any better? And if you can't do any better than what they did, you should shut the hell up because one day you could be in their shoes and then somebody's doing the same thing to you.
Right. Yes. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yep. I mean, it is what it is. But this is our episode. I'm Raniel.
I'm Duran.
And if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more episodes like this one. And to the next time.
Have fun.